Mission Impossible Fallout is the 6th entry in the series, and is also the first in the series to be a direct sequel to one of the previous films. All of the previous films in the series have kind of been their own thing, but with Mission Impossible Fallout you definitely have to have watched Rogue Nation, as 1, it carries over the same director, and 2, it carries over a lot of the same elements and characters from that previous movie. So if anything else, watch Rogue Nation before you watch Fallout. Over the last few years, I've actually come to really love the Mission Impossible series, because it's one of those rare franchises that actually somehow gets better with each movie. You have the first one, which I think is pretty good, the second one, which is shit, the third one, which I thought was just what the series needed at the time, just a good burst of energy to get it going again. Then you had the fourth one, Ghost Protocol, which is just great. The fifth one, which is my personal favourite, and now we are at Fallout, which is a very strong contender for being one of the best in the series, because even if it isn't the best, it's pretty damn close. I might as well just address my only main nitpick with the movie now, just to get it out of the way, and that's the fact that the plot involving nuclear bombs is a tad predictable. It's something that the Mission Impossible series and other films in this genre do quite a lot, and it is pretty cliched at this point, but to be honest, it's not that big of a deal in the movie. Like, it is, but it's not what the whole movie depends on, in a sense. It's just there to motivate the characters and the story forward. It's not a major thing, but I can see how some people would have a problem with it, because it's nothing special. Everything else, on the other hand, is fantastic. I'm just going to say it, this movie has probably some of the best action scenes you will see all year. Maybe even in the entire Mission Impossible series. And I know that's saying something, because this series is famous for its over-the-top stunts, whether it be the Burj Khalifa scene in Ghost Protocol, or that one moment in Rogue Nation where Tom Cruise is hanging off the side of a plane. There is nothing short of crazy stunts in this series, and I feel as if Fallout does the best job of perfecting those stunts, but also refining them at the same time. For example, even the smaller moments in this movie are really well executed. For example, you have this bathroom fight towards the start of the film, which is incredibly brutal and intense, and is probably my favourite scene in the entire film, just because of how white-knuckled it is, and how you just feel every punch and every hit in that scene, and I just thought it was so satisfying to watch. But then on the other end of the spectrum, you have scenes like the helicopter scene, which is towards the end. It's just one of the most insane stunts that I've probably ever seen. And the fact that every single stunt in this movie is practical just baffles me even more. Like, especially that helicopter scene at the end. For a long period of time, I was in awe of what I was seeing, because I was like, how the fuck did they actually film this? And again, the fact that it's practical, and the fact that Tom Cruise and the other actors did their own stunts, again, I just have to applaud them for that, because it's something you don't see in action movies nowadays, apart from the Mission Impossible series, obviously, and it's something that takes true time and effort and talent to really pull off effectively. And every single time in the Mission Impossible series, Tom Cruise pulls it off, and here, I think he perfects it. Now, the one thing that I was slightly hesitant about before going into this film is its choice of director. Every other movie in the franchise has brought on a new director for each film to keep it fresh and different each time. For example, with the first one you had Brian De Palma, but then they changed him for John Woo in the sequel. In the third one you had J.J. Abrams, but then in the fourth one they changed him out for Brad Bird. With this one, it's the same director as Rogue Nation, which was Christopher McQuarrie, and I thought he did a fantastic job with that movie, but I just didn't know how it would feel if he carried on doing another one. And he came back to do this one, and honestly, I actually do think the choice paid off in the end, because though it does have a similar aesthetic to Rogue Nation, which I think is the one reason why I liked the series up to that point, because every movie had its own unique look and aesthetic. This one does look and feel a lot like Rogue Nation, but that being said, it is different in a sense of like the stunts and the characters, and in that sense I suppose it's enough to overlook, and here he does a really good job helming the action scenes and a lot of the more subtle moments as well. So yeah, I think in the end it was the right choice to bring him back, especially seeing that this one connects directly to the last one. So I suppose the sense of continuity is realised there. But I think for the next one, they do need to bring someone new on, because I kind of like that whole pattern they had going. Each film, bring on someone new, it makes it feel fresh and original again. I like that they kept him for this one, but I think for the next one, maybe changed it out a bit. The performances in this movie are all good. They're all really good. Tom Cruise, I don't know how many times I have to say this, but Tom Cruise is as good as he can be in these movies. His dedication to the stunts or his acting in a lot more of the more intense moments, it's just really good, and I think is at its best in this movie. He has a lot to deal with in this film. A lot of the stuff which has kind of culminated from the previous 5 films has kind of reared its head in this one, and the way he reacts to it is just really, really well done. And yeah, at this point, I can't really see anyone else playing Ethan Hunt. He has made that role his own probably since the first or second film. He has encapsulated that character perfectly to the point where no one else can play him. I like the supporting cast as well. Simon Pegg is just as fun to watch as he has been in the previous films. He has a lot more to do here, although I did prefer his role in Rogue Nation because he had a little bit more banter with Cruise in that point, but in this one I still liked him enough. Rebecca Ferguson, just as good as she was in Rogue Nation. I preferred the intrigue to her character in that movie, but here she is just as good. You also have Ving Rhames coming back as Luther. I love his character. He kind of acts as a little bit like a concerned father figure at times for Ethan, and I just love seeing that in these films. But the one that surprised me the most was Henry Cavill. He is genuinely good in this movie, which genuinely surprised me, because whenever I've seen him as like Superman or something like that, I've just thought, oh, he's fine. I can kind of see anyone doing his role. In this, he is really good, and it was worth keeping the moustache just to fuck over the Justice League film, because oh my god, he is really good. If you've seen the movie, you'll know exactly what I mean. I don't want to get into too much about his character, but he is way better than I thought he would be. The best way I can describe his character is that he's kind of like a walking tank with a moustache. Also, one thing that I personally appreciated about this movie that I don't think a lot of other people have really picked up on is the fact that this movie is, I think, the first in the series to just cut the crap and get to the point. As much as I love the other movies in the series, they all suffer from a similar problem. The first act does feel like a lot of setup and doesn't really go anywhere, and it's only until the end of the first act going into the second act, which is when stuff starts to pick up. This movie literally drops you right in it. It still has the setup, but it keeps stuff keeps happening around that to keep you interested. And I really appreciated it about that film, because once the movie starts, it's pretty much non-stop until the end. And that's what mostly kept me engaged throughout the entire movie. The fact that it just had this constant sense of like, what's going to happen next? Oh shit, this is happening, that's happening. I was constantly on the edge of my seat, and I think it's mainly due to the fact that they just drop you straight in it from the word go. So yeah, Mission Impossible Fallout is everything I was expecting it to be, plus a little bit more. The only drawback, in my opinion, is the fact that the subplot involving nuclear bombs is a little bit on the predictable side. That being said, I'm still going to give Fallout a 9 out of 10. If you enjoyed the previous 5 movies, then you're gonna love this one. I do think this is a good, culmination of what's been built up in the last 5 movies. And in all fairness, I don't really know where they're going to go from here. With how the movie ends and what they were able to pull off in this movie, I don't quite get how they can top the stunts and just everything else in a Mission Impossible 7. I would like to see a Mission Impossible 7, but whether it will be as good as this one, I'm not sure, because this has set the bar really fucking high. So guys, that was my review of Mission Impossible Fallout. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Bye.